Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy Ben Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC and the entire baseball community in this case, man. And I'll tell you what, man, we've had baseball has had a lot of tragic deaths to start out this year. You know what I'm saying? You thought what happened in basketball last year was bad. I mean, it's gotten real bad for baseball. And today, and salute to Two Raw for TV for breaking this story too. Um, One of the greatest home run hitters of all time, and the original home run king, Hank Aaron, tragically died today at the age of 86. Um, as of now, no cause of death has been reported as of yet, but I'm sure we'll get more information on that, as the day progresses on or in the days, afterwards. But nobody saw this death coming. You know what I'm saying? This was one of the most revered baseball players in the history of the game. This was a guy that was one of the true hallmarks of the civil rights era, for baseball. Just to give you a little bit of context of this, um, Hammerin Hank Aaron eclipsed Babe Ruth's long-standing mark of 715 home runs on April 8th, 1974, and finished his 23-year Major League career with mostly spent with the Milwaukee and the Atlanta Braves, with a total of 755 home runs, which stood for 33 years up until Barry Bonds broke the record in 2007. Um, in terms of his overall record that he still holds today, um, he's hit 24 or more home runs every year from 1955 through 1973, and he's one of two players that hit 30 or more home runs in a season at least 15 times. In 1999, the Sporting News ranked Hank Aaron fifth on his list of greatest 100 greatest baseball players. Um, Throughout the majority of his career, he spent some time playing in right field, though he's appeared several times in the infield or in the outfield positions. In his last two seasons, he was playing primarily a designated hitter. He was a 20-time All Star and he was a 25-time All Star, World Series champion back in 1957. He won the NL MVP that same year. Three-time Gold Glove winner, two-time AL batting champion from 1956 and 1959. Four times he led the National League in home runs in 57, 63, 66, and 67. Four times he led the National League in RBIs in those same years as well. Both of his numbers by both the Milwaukee Brewers and the Atlanta Braves are retired. He still holds records of career runs batted in with 2,297 career RBIs, 6,856 career total bases, 1,477 career extra base hits, and 25 career All Star appearances. This was a guy that literally was the model of consistency throughout his entire career. Um, a native of Mobile, Alabama, and a staunch advocate for civil rights until his death, he was basically elected in Cooperstown on the first ballot of the Hall of Fame in 1982, with at least about 97.8% of the vote. I'm going to explain a little bit why that should have been a unanimous decision and why that had a lot to do with a lot of the races you saw in the media. Um, at the time, it was the second highest percentage behind only Ty Cobb in history. He became the 10th player enshrined into the Baseball Hall of Fame to die since the start of 2020, joining Tom Seaver, Whitey Ford, Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, Al Canine, Joe Morgan, Phil Necro, and Tommy Lasorda and Don Sutton that have already died back in 2021. Okay, the 6 foot, 180 pound Aaron did not look like he become one of the most prolific sluggers in baseball history, and he never hit more than 47 home runs until 1971 in any other season. Yet his famed wristed base swing and consistent excellence and durability resulted him in 20 consecutive seasons of at least hitting 20 home runs, including 44 with 132 RBIs and a 322 batting average during his lone National League MVP campaign in 1957. I'm going to tell you something. This guy should have had at least 10 MVPs. The guy was pretty much the model of consistency. Okay. Harry Aaron also helped the Braves to a 7-game victory against the heavily favored New York Yankees in the 1957 World Series. A loss to the Bombers would be avenged in 1958. He batted 364 with 3 home runs during those two fall classes and 357 with 3 home runs against the Mets in the 1969 ALCS, the only postseasons of his entire career. Of course, Henry Aaron's greatest moment of all time was basically the moment that he broke Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that significant moment. Okay, remember, he was inching and inching closer to breaking Babe Ruth's career home run total. All right, and he endured all sorts of racist BS that is just unbelievable. I think in one of his books he talked about how he was being called the N word. He was receiving death threats. He had 3,000 letters of hate mail every day. You know what I'm saying? And this guy endured racism that you wouldn't even believe. But but man kept focused on the goal, and he did not let that stop him. And on that date of in 1974 in Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta, against the Dodgers, Al Downing, he hit the monster shot into to left center field to basically uh, break Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. Um, in one of his memoirs in '91, I Had a Hammer, he pretty much said, "I never wanted them to forget Babe Ruth. I just wanted them to remember Henry Aaron." And absolutely, this man was graciously remembered. He was the guy that was pretty much the model of constant consistency and class. He was one of the true ambassadors for the game of baseball, and he was pretty much a guy that a lot of players looked up to as they were growing up in the game. I know Barry Bonds has pretty much mentioned that many times. He even talked about it, on his Twitter. He said, "I was lucky enough to spend some time with Hank on several occasions during my career, and always had the deepest respect and admiration for all that he did both on and off the field. He is an icon, a legend, and a true hero to so many who will forever be missed." End quote. So yeah, he also went on to say, "Henry Aaron, thank you for everything you ever taught us, for being a trailblazer through adversity and setting an example for all of us African American ball players who came after you. Hank's errands will be felt by all of us who love the game, and his impact will forever be cemented in my heart." So yeah, this is coming from a guy that pretty much was the man who pretty much broke his record. And although Hank Aaron had some suspicions about the authenticity of how Bronze broke the record, he still maintained his level of respect for him, years after that. So that's good was good enough to see. In pretty much in 1999, MLB honored him by giving him the best hitter, honored Aaron by naming the award given to the best hitter of each league after the Slugger. And then in 2002, he was received the Presidential Medal of Freedom by former President George W. Bush in 2002. George Bush also in a statement, "Laura and I are saddened by the passing of Hank Aaron. The former home run king wasn't handed his throne. He grew up poor and faced racism as he worked to become one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Hank never let the hatred he faced consume him." Absolutely, 100%. And so at the end of the day, man, this is a guy that really was the true definition of a great player, and a guy that should have had his due and should have been voted unanimously 100% into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And the reason why he wasn't was because there were a lot of people in the media that hated the idea of Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's home run record. They couldn't fathom it. They couldn't stand it. They couldn't stand a black athlete breaking one of their great heroes in terms of their home run record. But salute to Hank Aaron. He persevered, through all the hatred, through all the racism, and he kept a distance away from the media too that had certainly a racial bias against him. That played a significant role in why he only received what 90%, 97% of the vote. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, things have changed over time in terms of the voting. But if there's a couple of players that should have been voted unanimously 100% in the Hall of Fame, Hank Aaron was one of them, and also Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, how those guys were not unanimous votes is absolutely ridiculous. But it doesn't matter about that. I just wanted to point out that little distinction about it. But Certainly, this is a guy that was revered heavily through all the great baseball players that we have had. You know what I'm saying? And was a big influence for a lot of the great, black players that came, after him. And so it's a very, very tragic, day. This is another legend that we've lost this year. You know, this time around in this calendar year. As I mentioned, we've lost a lot of other legends like Lou Brock, um, Whitey Ford, Bob Gibson, Al Kaline. You know what I'm saying? Joe Morgan, Phil Necro, Bob Tom Seaver. You know what I'm saying? And then also to start out the year, we also lost. We've also lost uh, Tommy Lasorda, Don Sutton, and now we lost Hank Aaron. So it's really been a very tragic time for baseball. But certainly the memories that he's created and the legacy that he left behind in the sport will obviously never be forgotten. And his records, will still stand for the test of time. The fact that he still holds records for most, career RBIs and hitting 24 or more home runs from every year from 55 to 73 is pretty much the level of pure consistency and longevity. You know what I'm saying? There's not gonna be a lot of baseball players that's gonna match what he was able to do during that entire stretch between the 50s all the way towards the 70s. And so pretty much this guy will forever be remembered as one of the maybe top five, top three greatest baseball players in the history of the game. That's what I believe. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a subjective opinion about it, but you're not going to find many disagreements about that. Hank Aaron's legacy will forever be cemented, and today we're just celebrating the life of one of the greatest baseball players that has ever played in this sport, and certainly an athlete that is revered heavily, in terms of fighting for civil rights, fighting for justice against racism and bigotry. This man went through everything, all sorts of hatred, bigotry, and racism in the world, and basically cemented his legacy as one of the greats to ever play in baseball. So rest in peace, Hank Aaron. Condolences to him and his family as they're going through the loss of this great baseball player. But his legacy and what he did for the sport will never ever be forgotten. Rest in peace.